Hi everyone, I'm Lara and I am owner-operator of Heavy Eyes Happy Heart Sleep Consulting in Vancouver, but we service just about anywhere. And I'm a certified maternity and child sleep consultant. I'm also a mom to a 2.5-year-old daughter and a teacher as well. If you want to know more about me. So I started this segment called Ask Me Anything in hopes of connecting a little bit more. And this week I've chosen a question from Tara. So I'm just going to read it for you. She sent me 2 questions, but I might save her second question for another time. Okay, at what age roughly do babies become sensitive to light and sound during sleep? And how should you organize your environment accordingly to optimize good sleep? I think that's a really good question. And she mentioned that her baby is 3 months old. Okay. I think that at 12 weeks, I often hear from parents about how much more alert their babies are becoming and how much more distracted they seem to be, for example, during feeding, during, trying to get them for naps, all kinds of different things throughout the day. They seem to just be a lot more alert. With regards to their environment. I think that it's great if you can still continue to have some naps on the go at that stage. A nap in the car seat on occasion, a nap in the stroller, in a baby carrier. I think those are all excellent resources and things that you should definitely use in the early months when you can. I think it is, I think we have to also recognize that during the postpartum period, many women are struggling a little bit emotionally, physically, and being able to get out and meet different people, connect with new moms in your neighborhood, make some friends is really, really important part of the process. So, I think back on my early days and just how much of my time was focused on trying to get my baby to nap in her crib too early. Really, it was too early for me to be so focused on that. And I think that it actually hurt my mental health in not getting out quite as much as I needed to at that stage. So generally, I like to see parents start to organize their baby's sleep environment really from birth, because when it is time for you to need it, it's great if it's already ready to go, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about what an optimal sleep environment would look like. And as far as an age where they become more sensitive, I like to focus sleep organization starting from 4 months on. Of course, there are things you can do from birth to try to create a beautiful little sleeper. I think there are things you can do from 3 months, in the 3 to 4 month period, gentle changes you can make to start facilitating excellent sleep. But as far as putting pressure on yourself to have your baby sleeping in the same environment all the time, I like to save that till at least 4 months and even closer to 6 months. But at 4 months of age, a baby's body starts to produce melatonin for the first time, that sleep-inducing chemical in our bodies that makes us tired and want to fall asleep. Prior to 4 months, that chemical is left over in their bodies. Basically, it's stored from being in utero, so it's like the mom has stored the baby with this melatonin, and at 4 months they start producing it themselves. And that is often where we'll hear about the 4-month sleep regression. It's really a time of sleep reorganization. That's what I would call it. And this is where babies are sometimes fighting sleep more than they did previously. And this is often where parents get into some trouble because they begin to help their babies more and more and more to get to sleep, when prior to that time, the baby could just drift off to sleep pretty easily with limited intervention from mom and dad. So that's where sometimes we get into some of those more negative sleep associations and taking away our baby's natural inclination to fall asleep independently. So that's something to just kind of be aware of around the 4-month mark. And so as far as awareness, I also think that's a really great time to begin having more naps in the crib if you're able to, or the bassinet, wherever it's going to be. So thinking about an optimal sleep environment for a baby, I am going to think about a crib for naps, first and foremost. Just having a safe environment there is great. So a baby that young shouldn't have anything in their crib with them. Just a fitted sheet and light cotton sleepwear of some kind. So some fitted pajamas or a sleeper. And I would suggest either some kind of swaddle, as long as the baby is not yet rolling, and generally like a loose swaddle at this stage would be great. Maybe some kind of like a sleep sack swaddle combination, nothing that's too restrictive of movement, because they are starting to move around a little bit in their crib. And I often recommend sleep sacks at this age as well. So some light clothing, comfortable clothing that they can move in, that they're not going to get too hot in. I think it's quite common for people to overdress their babies for sleep and not realize that the optimal sleep temperature of the room would be 16 to 22 degrees Celsius, which is actually quite cool. You know, I think 16 degrees Celsius is way too cold, personally. It's a little bit personal preference, but babies, their bodies are like little tiny heaters, and I think it's great to bring the temperature down a bit and then use the clothing to warm the baby up. So their sleeper and their sleep sack. You can choose a sleep sack that's an appropriate weight for the time of year. So, you know, in the winter, you're going to have something more like a 2.5 TOG, TOG, which is usually right on the tag of the sleep sack. And in the summer, you might have something that's more like a 0.5 or a 0.7 TOG, and it's just a much thinner material, something nice and light and airy for that time of year, so that the baby's not becoming overheated. As far as having anything else in the crib with them, I really don't advise that until a little bit older. So, you know, nothing is really advised in the crib until 1 year of age, as far as loveys and stuffies go. Depending on development, though, sometimes that can change a little bit. Now, I think it's important to darken out all the windows. We know that melatonin is produced in the dark. It's a vampire chemical. So we want to really facilitate that. And I think about how I best like to nap, and that's in a dark space. And, you know, hotels have it always the absolute best with their blackout shades, and feels so great to be napping in a space like that. So I would certainly invest in blackout blinds for your window in your baby's room, or a nice blackout curtain, something that is limiting the light that enters their room. And if you can't afford that at this time, or if you just want to try something else to see if this actually works or makes any kind of difference for your baby, you could just put some black garbage bags over your windows with masking tape temporarily. Some people use cardboard or tin foil. Of course, your neighbors are not going to love you, depending where you live, but sometimes that's an option for trying this out briefly, or an option you can use when you're on vacation and you want to create an optimal sleep environment. And then as far as the audiology of this environment, I think it's great to use white noise. I am quite a supporter of it. I think that it's a great cue for infants that they are going to go to sleep, and something that you should use at every sleep time, naps and bedtime. And I advise families that this not be louder than the sound of a running shower. So right now it's not recommended that white noise be over 50 decibel points, I believe. Might have to check back in my notes, but I think that's what I usually advise. And so I would just check the volume on that, but always use a white noise machine that can run consistently. So if it turns off after 45 minutes, that's really no good to you, because an infant's sleep cycle is going to be between 30 to 45 minutes, 55 minutes long in some infants. And so having that turn off might just help them to wake when you want them to continue sleeping. So that's definitely some things I would think about an optimal sleep environment. So hopefully that's helpful, but please don't start freaking out about scheduling all of your baby's naps in their crib until you're closer to the 5-6 month mark. Even then, lots of families still enjoy a nap on the go here and there. I say, majority of the naps in the crib, but if you've got a nap on the go once in a while, it's really not the end of the world. Sometimes you need that for your sanity, and it's important for moms and dads to be healthy and feel like they are out in the world sometimes, visiting family. Try not to feel guilty about those things. Yes, babies generally sleep better in their cribs. It's kind of comparable to us trying to sleep on an airplane, but once in a while we have to sleep on that airplane, right? Anyways, thanks for tuning in this week, and I hope you found this to be helpful. Got a few good questions already in my bucket for next week, so I'm excited to carry on with that. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.